Hopefully we will have a confession served up with this file.
Surely, my dearest, most honorable defendant, surely you poisoned Smith.
No, nothing of the sort.
Then shall we say you shot him?
Not that either.
Arranged for an automobile accident.
Watch out, this is a trap.
Sorry, prosecutor, but Smith died of a heart attack. It wasn't even his first one. He had one years ago and was supposed to be careful. You know, he let on that he was fit as a fiddle, but there was always danger that any excitement would bring it on again. I knew that for certain.
Indeed. Who told you so?
His wife.
For heaven's sakes, what's your step?
I intend to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I mean, fact is I had a little romance with Mrs. Smith.
I mean, the old bastard was always away on trips after all, and cruelly neglecting the little woman, who was a mighty juicy piece. So, I consoled her. First on the couch in the living room, and later on, as I grew more at home, in their marital bed. Things like that happened. After all, it's the way of the world.
A confession.
A confession?
A confession?
Such folly! My client is out of his mind. On no account should anyone believe these fabrications.
Mr. Hamilton, are you still on friendly terms with Mrs. Smith?
I have kept away from there since Smith's death. I mean, after all, I did not want to be responsible for compromising the reputation of a widow.
Oh, we will have a death sentence. You might as well eat hearty, because there's nothing left for us to do.
Good, Albert. Let us listen to the prosecutor's charge.
You will be stunned to see what you have done with your careless tongue.
Greatest pleasure of our soiree, and his crowning achievement, is that we have uncovered a murder so subtly arranged that, of course, it has brilliantly escaped the attention of official justice. The defendant doubts his own guilt, a human impulse. Who among us knows himself? Who knows his own crimes and secret misdeeds? The discovery of a murder is a joyful event, an event that makes our hearts beat higher, that confronts us with new tasks, decisions, duties. Therefore, I wish to congratulate our dear culprit, for without a culprit it is scarcely possible to discover a murder to make justice prevail. Special thanks to our dear Mr. Hamilton, whom a kindly destiny has brought into our midst.
Thank you. I assure you this is the most enjoyable evening I have ever spent.
His most enjoyable evening, our noble defendant tells us. Glorious words, gentlemen. Deeply moving words.
Prosecutor, my dear, dear friend.
Defendant, my dear, dear Mr. Hamilton. Let us drop the formalities. My name is Court. To your health, Albert.
To your health, Kurt.
Cheers. A beautiful, a perfect murder. You may imagine that I'm using such a term in a spirit of rash cynicism, but far from it. Rather, I must call it beauty. Our company has long since abandoned the point of view that sees crime as ugly and justice as a thing of beauty. Without crime, we would have no justice. Let us turn now to the technical beauty of the act. My address for the prosecution is not intended as a terrifying indictment, but as an appreciation that will reveal his crime for him. Albert Flower implanted in his consciousness.
Like a fairy tale. So I have supposed to committed a murder, me of all people. Would you kindly tell me how I did it?
A masterpiece of a murder. Committed without bloodshed, without guns,
or anything so crude. Let us consider the evidence at hand. Let us consider a picture of the dead man. We know Mr. Smith was a sales manager. We may deduce that he was a man who was out for all he could get, who ruthlessly exploited his subordinates, who was adept at closing deals, although the methods he used were often questionable.
Right you are. You've got the old crook perfectly.
Let us further conclude that outwardly he played the part of a hard-hitting businessman, bristling with good health, able to cope with any situation, a man who knew his way around. Let us assume that he took the fact of his illness with a kind of defiant fury, as though it meant an admission of some kind of failure. But let us complete our portrait of the dead man. There is the additional fact that the deceased neglected his wife, whom we are to imagine as a mighty juicy piece. To Mr. Smith, only success counted, only business, the facade, and it is safe to guess that he took his wife's fidelity for granted. He fancied himself far too extraordinary, too overpowering a man for the thought of adultery ever to occur to his wife, for which reason it would be a hard blow to him if he had learned of his wife's amusing herself with our Casanova of the Utopia Club.
Sure was. Finished him off when you found out.
But how did the old sinner find out? Did his juicy little piece of a wife admit to it?
She would never do that.
Did Smith figure it out for himself?
Him, he was too conceited for that.
Did you by any chance spring it on him, my dear friend and Don Juan?
Why, no, Kurt. What kind of man do you think I am? It was one of his fine feathered business friends who told the old crook.
But why would you do that?
Because he was out to cook my goose. He was always out to get me.
What types there are in this world?
Yeah.
But how could this honest soul have known about your affair?
Because I told him.
Told him.
Well, you know how it is. Over a glass of wine, you let things slip when you had one too many.
Granted. But you were just saying that you knew Mr. Smith's business friend to be an enemy of yours. In that case, was it not fairly obvious to you that he would go to your boss with a story?
You do not need to answer that question.
Oh, why not? There's no harm in that question. After all, I didn't give a damn whether Smith found out or not. I mean, the way he treated me all these years, the way he always tried to give me the short end of the stick every time, I really found no reason to be considerate of him.
A second confession.
All right. You played a beautiful game, Mr. Hamilton. The case is clear. The last link in the chain of evidence has been forged. Behold, our noble soul, our dearest Albert.